We welcome you back. It is a delight to have reached the final hour of our program tonight. It's been a really good one. Tim Brando earlier, Coach White from Florida, Jay Billis, but our final guest is the all-time showstopper. If you haven't seen this is from The Spun, a website which I really couldn't tell you one thing about, but they were smart enough to play off the massive egos of people in our business, including myself, and do a bracket. Stephen A. Smith, Colin Cowherd, Skip Bayless, and they have me as a 3 seed, which is ridiculous. I'm not annoying at all. But our next guest is a 14, and for whatever reason, we are pitted against one another, which just seems criminal. I welcome to our show Katie Nolan, who's a program Always Late with Katie Nolan. You can find everywhere. Katie, never met, so it's great to finally say hello to you and welcome you to our program.
It's great to meet you as well. Thanks for having me. I wish it was under different circumstances.
Yeah, I do too. When I was up in New York all fall, I would see you over in the little corner, and you guys were getting ready to do a show, and I was basically loafing and doing nothing, so I didn't want to bother. But I mean, I don't. This is not the right thing to start off a relationship on the air or anywhere. But I think you're far more annoying than I am. So why am I a 3 and you're 14?
Did you just say you think I'm far more annoying than you are?
Well,
Jesus, Paul. You know, I was going to start this off by saying I also do think I'm probably more annoying than you, but now I feel like I got to switch my position. You're much more annoying than me. Are you kidding? No, I'm excited about the matchup. I feel like you might get out of this in the first round, which is the goal, I guess, of this bracket. Like, you don't want to win. Well, and I feel like your odds are pretty good.
I learned something today because I see you see your name in these places, but I realized last year I beat the website in the first round. So the fact that they put me back in this year is pretty amazing. I don't know, but do you know what The Spun is?
No clue.
Okay, that makes 2 of us. Well, let's talk a little bit about you for a second, because we can come back to this epic matchup. 3-14s are not that coveted anyway. It's more like the 5-12 matchup. But for someone, and I don't want to ever like to classify people, but you have not been in the business for that long, but you've had a pretty amazing career so far. I believe you come from Boston. You've been a bartender. You've won a sports Emmy. You've pretty much done it all in a very finite period of time. What's it like to be Katie Nolan?
You know, not as exciting as you just made it sound, but no, it's been really cool. I kind of came up in a non-traditional way. Now I'm here at ESPN, the worldwide leader. I've got a show on ESPN Plus, which you can see right there on the font. It's been really great. It's been exciting. Hopefully it's not done yet. That would be fantastic for me and for my parents because they're so proud. But yeah, it's been cool. It's cool because they kind of carved out this little thing that I do, and I just do that, and I don't have to do any of the other stuff, which I find pretty great.
I mean, you were at Fox and you were incredibly successful there with the Garbage Time show, and I would like maybe just ask some pedestrian questions, because that's what I do here. I ask a lot of pedestrian questions, but
so annoying.
It is, but we better be careful. Somebody might think this is working. This network. But Katie, my question is, your approach, it's different than the traditional approach, obviously, even of the place that you work. For those who aren't as familiar with you as those of us geeks in the business, how would you describe it?
I would say it's a lighter look at sports. It's, I grew up, like you said, around Boston, and so I grew up as a sports fan, but I'm obviously not an expert. I'm not the person you turn to when you need to know whose defense is running what system. It's just not my thing. I'm here as the voice of the fan, the person who loves sports and loves the silly stuff that happens around sports. Sometimes there's the serious stuff that happens that I feel like needs to be addressed, so I try to do that as best I can. But, I would say my thing is just looking at sports as a fan and giving a voice to that and hopefully making people laugh in the process.
I remember seeing something you did. I was up there during, I think it was at a Yankees game. It was really quite hilarious. I can't remember exactly what you did, but you went to a Yankees game with one of your colleagues and just sat there, I believe, in the grandstand, eating and drinking and who knows what else.
Allegedly.
Yeah. Seemed like you were drinking
yeah,
a
that
lot.
was me. Pablo Torre and I went to a Yankees-Red Sox game that the Red Sox won. Obviously, they went on to win the World Series, but yeah, it was just like a fun sitting up in the not great seats, I don't think you're supposed to film in the stadium, but we used our phones, and so we just kind of made it work.
On that subject, because I mean, you've worked at Fox, you work at ESPN now, and it's just my opinion, and I've been doing this many, many years, that people in the industry do take themselves maybe just a little too seriously.
What?
I know that came as a shot across the bow there, but I would like your view of it, because you don't seem to fit into any of the or most of the so-called check boxes that you would get even at ESPN.
Yeah, I think that I understand why people in sports sometimes end up taking themselves too seriously. We're talking about something that is basically kind of silly if you really think about it too much. So if you always talk about it like it's silly, then who would ever take it seriously? So I get it. But I do think that there is a space for somebody who will kind of turn that on its head and make fun of some of the times when we go a little too far in acting like sports are this gigantic deal that's like life or death, when clearly it isn't. And yeah, I probably don't check a lot of the boxes, which has been a good thing and a bad thing in terms of finding opportunities and figuring out my place in all this. But luckily, I'm really annoying, and so I just bug the studios and the networks until I get something kind of close to what I want.
Well, let me ask a very parental question. I mean, what is your place at a company even like the worldwide leader?
It's got really heavy really fast. I guess my place is just like I've always said, it's like dessert. So everybody else on this network who is incredible at their jobs, I don't think that I should do what they do, and I don't in any way think that I could or want to. My job is just to be you watch all the other shows during the day, you hear from very smart and informed people like yourself, and then you come to us when it's like, okay, I've heard all the information, I'm ready to kind of just chill now. That's what my show, Always Late, is aiming to do.
In terms of what you do on Always Late, how would you compare and contrast or even differentiate that from what you do on your podcast?
Well, as of right now, it's sort of differentiating itself in that we spend so much time working on the show. It's once a week, but we put a lot of effort into it. We have a lot of things we're working on throughout the week that then culminate with the show. That the podcast is sort of just where we kick back and relax, and it's less scripted. It's more just a loose conversation between myself and my producer / now best friend, Ashley Braband. And so it's just like a fun, more relaxed, if possible, I know that sounds crazy, version of what we do on the show, which is more scripted, since obviously I'm the solo host, so you can't really have a discussion with yourself, though I do that every day in my house.
I know you started, I believe at some point, I don't know if you started, but you were a comedian. And I know you were on, was it Kimmel a couple of months ago? When you go on a program like this, being from a comedic background, being on a tremendously large platform with a comedian, describe what that is like.
It's incredibly nerve-wracking if you're me and you're a person who still gets very nervous and sometimes looks around the room wondering how I got here and if I belong. But you kind of power through that, and luckily Kimmel's a very nice guy, and so he makes you very comfortable immediately, and you just, I guess, convince yourself that you have something important to say and people want to hear you say it, and then you just sort of black out for most of it, and then you wake up when it's over and you review the tape and see what you said.
What did you think when you watched the next day?
I mean, I talked about some stuff I probably shouldn't have talked about on TV, but you know what, Paul, you review the tape, you fix your mistakes for the next time, and that's what I'm hoping to do.
Yeah, I can't watch myself because I don't like anything I see. So maybe I should subscribe to what you do. Maybe if I did, maybe I wouldn't be here the next day. But are you one of those who, when you walk out of a show, you immediately start obsessing over what you did wrong versus enjoy what you did right?
I used to be. I used to watch every show back and take notes and try to fix it or change it because especially when you do a once a week show, it's a lot easier to dwell on it because you have another week until your next show, whereas if you're every day or even if you're live, it's sort of just like it happened, there's nothing we can do. But I think that after a few years of doing that, I was driving myself crazy, and so now I just do the driving myself crazy leading up to the show, and then once it's over, I just sort of take a huge nap. Except today, I came here to do this because I was excited to finally talk to you and to let you know that you're going to beat me because you're annoying.
Well, listen, I'm competitive, but this is one of those contests where I'm going to live with it either way. But speaking of that, because this is, one of my pet peeves is putting my hand over my ears on Thursday and Friday when everyone we know starts telling us about their bracket. Are you one of those, or do you get into it like most people?
I mean, it is kind of like your fantasy team in football when everyone talks about their rosters and they think that people care when they don't. So yeah, I don't think talking about your own bracket is all that interesting. Clearly, there are some people you want to hear their opinions to help inform your bracket, but it's mostly a selfish thing. It's for you, and you really don't need to share it with other people. And even though I'm saying those words, I know people are still going to talk about their brackets as if anybody really cares. Last year, mine was busted right away. So I just sort of go into it now with I don't care. I'm just going to pick some random stuff and pretend I know what I'm talking about mentality, and we'll see how that works out.
Finally, you've done quite a bit in your career. If you could paint a perfect picture of what you would like to do moving forward, what would it be?
Well, I've never been good at this question because it sounds stupid, but I'm always very focused on what I'm doing right now and trying to make that as good as possible. So we're in our 20-something episode of the show. And so my goal right now is I think we have 40 to get through, so I want to make sure those keep getting better every week. And then, ideally, I guess my career goal is to have a show like this that's like a late night vibe type of show, hosted by me, ideally, with guests. And I like working with athletes because I don't think they're used to being asked questions that are off of their normal script, and I like putting them in those positions. So I think something sports related like that. I'm really living the dream, Paul. I wouldn't change it for the world.
If you had that first late night show and it was on tonight, who would your guest list be?
Oh God, you obviously. First of all,
I knew that was the first answer.
Yeah, we'd have you in like the A and B block. That feels important. And then I don't know, maybe we'd go over to like a Tom Brady. I don't know, he seems like a cool guy.
He would be cool.
That I would not mind chatting with for a minute. And then, I don't know, we'd have probably some sort of musical guests. Who are you into right now? That face says no one.
No one right now.
Yeah, maybe it'd be you. We'd just have you hop over, do some karaoke,
I could go.
And then boom.
I used to play the saxophone back in high school, so I could probably arrange that.
Perfect. You're our own Kenny G.
That would be a good guest too. Listen, I want to wish you well. I want to be fair about that.
Thank you.
Because we both work for the same company, but you're probably not going to win. So.
No, I think I am, Paul. I don't think you're that annoying. I think I'm pretty annoying, and I think people know that. I think 14 was a little bit of a low seed for me. Probably should have been higher up. But, either way, I'm just glad we can remain friends when it's all over.
Yeah, we will. And we will meet again because we've yet to meet other than through the television set. Katie, thanks. I know you got a lot going on. We really appreciate you coming by.
Thank you so much, Paul.
Katie Nolan from Always Late with Katie Nolan, facing me in the Spun. That's a big-time website. That's one that